on the 23rd and 25th of last month, in which we lost an innocent member of the public, that is Nyinaneza Emily, and where 4 others sustained critical injuries. Of course, this led to the joint security agencies intensifying intelligence-led operations. Our joint security agencies that comprised of the Joint Anti-Terrorism Unit, that is JAT, the Joint Intelligence Components of CMI, CI, and ISO, CID, conducted operations that were targeting basically single individuals, small cells operating in the country, and also general activities rotating around terrorism. We want to inform the country that so far we have 48 suspects who have been arrested and are in our custody. The public should know that the threats to the country from terrorism, especially on soft targets, are still in existence. And as we expand our intelligence-led operations to ensure all Ugandans and visitors are protected, we call upon the public to remain extra alert and vigilant against these threats of terrorism, which come amidst the threats of COVID-19. Of course, these arrests present a positive step in this fight of countering acts of terror, and so far we are into the 7th day since the last incident, without any new incident of terror, but still there is a lot of work to be done to at least ensure that we identify all persons who are involved in these acts of domestic terrorism that are highly linked to the ADF. The public in response was quite impressive last week. We saw a number of Ugandans and visitors who came out to strongly condemn the attackers and show solidarity in the fight against terrorism. We got calls from different corners of suspicious movements and objects. For instance, in Katabi playground, there was a bag which was abandoned. Our response team from the aviation bomb squad managed to establish that this was a bag that was abandoned with clothes inside, so they managed to remove it. Here at Sambia Sharing Hall, we were called, we responded. There was a tear gas canister that was abandoned in the neighborhood. It was taken over by the field force unit. We also responded to an abandoned numberless motor vehicle along Gaba Road in Zambia next to the US Embassy. We established that it belonged to Mwonjera Andrew, who is a staff at the embassy. We also responded to Akamwesi. There was another abandoned bag which was there. So this really shows some level of vigilance from the public, which is encouraging wherever we face such threats of terrorism. We want to remind the public that the focus of these terrorists is still on soft targets, and these are many and very difficult to defend all of them, especially restaurants, public transportation, shopping centers and markets, pedestrians, religious places, and so on. So we are therefore appealing to business owners and the public at large to support the security agencies in keeping our country safe by remaining vigilant and reporting anything that does not seem right within your neighborhood to security or other authority. For all those other ministries, departments, agencies, we call upon them to review and update their security plans, properly assess the risks indoor and in outdoor spaces, so that they are basically safe. So, regrettably, the public should know that a terror attack can happen anywhere and anytime. So the best defense is collective community effort, where we all come together, and there we shall reduce the chance of any attacks on our economy or country. Now, towards the end of last week, we came up with a sensitization program on promoting vigilance and remaining alert at all places. But why we are coming out this time is because we want also to inform the public on certain general characteristics of suicide bombers. You know very well that out of these recent attacks, the one which occurred on Swift Safari bus was an incident of suicide attack where one Matovu Isaac, aka Muzafaru, blew himself. And we have since established that Matovu Isaac, aka Muzafaru, and Nsubuga Abdul Hamid were jointly trained as suicide bombers by the ADF. And for that matter, we have a belief that there could still be other suicide bombers who are still out there at large. And we want to call upon the public to be vigilant amidst these threats of suicide bomb attackers. And why we are doing this is because these suicide attacks or threats are a new phenomenon, and it is important that members of the public are made aware of the characteristics of suicide bombers. Remember, they come from nearly every background, ethnicity, or religious setting. So for the public, this information is important. Once you're armed with it, it can help you. Once you're armed with this specific information about a suspicious person who intends to detonate him or herself, you can easily prevent, you can easily thwart, or you can easily escape and save yourself or even other lives. So we are coming up with best lessons from Israel, which has experienced hundreds of suicide attacks. We want to inform the public about the following, that suicide bombers participate in months of indoctrination, and the majority are actually males between 17 to 23 years of age. However, women and children have a potential of being recruited as well. We had the first suicide bombing way back by the Al-Shabaab in the twin bombings of 2010 here in Kampala. Now, the second attack was that of Matovu Isaac, alias Muzafaru. We believe there are still more who have been radicalized into the ranks of suicide bombers. But the general characteristics that we want to share with the public are these ones. That first of all, the appearance of suicide bombers, they will always appear nervous. They may seem preoccupied or have a blank stare. They will have a focused intent and vigilance, such as an acute focus. They will have an awkward attempt to blend in behavior. They tend, where security is present, they will try to be inconspicuous. That is, avoid behaviors towards authority. They tend to move away or tend to play low. They appear to be praying fervently to themselves. This gives the appearance of talking or whispering to someone. they have a behavior which is consistent with that of a person without a future, like they start giving away things of value, being unconcerned about receipt of change and so on. What we established in Gomba Butambala is that the late Nsubuga Hamid, when he lost his young brother called Isma, he was very bitter, claiming that all the work that he has been doing, the assets he has been amassing were meant for this young brother of his, Isma, who died in an accident. So he was very, very bitter. So their behavior is therefore consistent with that of a person without a future. They profusely sweat. Then they tend to walk deliberately toward a specific target or objective while ready to attack. Then when you observe the lower torso, there is lack of mobility, is a bit stiff in nature. So that lack of mobility of the lower torso may cause upper body stiffness when the person is moving. This may be due to the bomb device that is strapped to the body. They tend to disguise their appearance. They come when they are clean shaven or when they have trimmed the hair. Sometimes the clothing does not match the weather. They have a heavy coat on a warm day. Sometimes they may carry a backpack, a briefcase, and they have a detonating device which is held in a clenched fist. But there are backup devices that may also be used, like a timer, pager, a cellular phone, or a booby trap, or an accomplice or supervisor may even detonate by remote. The appearance of excessive weight is also very crucial in this. So why we are bringing this is that from what we have seen, we noticed that the public is at risk by such suicide bombers. So we have been asked to share this information to our citizens so that they can remain vigilant and report suspicious individuals to help reduce the chance of suicide bombings. So the characteristics of suicide bombers discussed here are simply meant to increase awareness levels to recognize a potential problem arising out of these two attacks that we got recently. Now, the police in Greater Savannah and Woblenzi are actively searching for the mayor of Woblenzi Town Council, who, together with several others, managed to mobilize the youth and incited them during curfew hours against the police who were on their lawful patrol duties. This led to police officers under self-defense mechanisms to fire gunshots that injured two victims. But all these acts were inspired by the Mayor of Woblenzi Town Council, Honorable Sebalamu Moses. These incidents happened on the 30th of last month at around 7:30 p.m. to 8, when the OC of Woblenzi police station was on routine patrol and enforcement of the curfew and security patrols within Woblenzi Town Council. We've learned that when you go to Modern Cell, the mayor has a bar that has been operating stealthily behind closed doors. So the officers were heading in that direction based on information that they had got. And that is when he started insulting and inciting the youth against them, claiming that there is no curfew. There is no more curfew in Uganda. And for that purpose, they started throwing and pelting our officers with stones. 2 of them were injured. So our officers managed to discharge about 13 bullets. Unfortunately enough, 2 victims were injured. There is Seguya Ivan, who is a businessman in Woblenz Town Council, and he's aged 35. Then there's also Nachitende Beatrice, a 15-year-old female juvenile who also was injured to the right leg. They were rushed to Bombo Military Hospital where they're undergoing treatment. So this is the second incident of incitement to violence perpetrated by the mayor of Woblenz Town Council. He was very, very participatory in the November 18 to 19 political riots and demonstrations, where he and others instigated the burning of the Chief Magistrate's Court in Woblenz. We charged him to court. So we continue to remain committed to rule of law in this country. Therefore, such lawful acts of attacks on security personnel is something that we strongly condemn. We are going to ensure that all those responsible, that is the mayor and all his group of criminals, are traced and held accountable for the criminal acts. Now, another area that we thought we should talk to is we are getting an increase in incidents of unexploded ordinances or remnants of war. This follows the incident which happened in Segalia village, that is Semoto in Nakaseke district, where we were concerned after the reported death of 3 children from the same family after they tampered with an explosive remnant of war. Now, there are other related incidents, although these ones were not fatal in nature. On the 27th of last month, at Kasanje Town Council, a member of the Town Council called Kasozi Godfrey came into possession of a suspected hand grenade, and he took it to a welder called Segawa Dennis to drill a hole for him and fix a handle in something which looks like a grenade. So this means that people are not informed on the appearance of some of these explosive and remnants of war. So the suspected grenade exploded while they were welding it, and it injured the welder, Segawa Dennis, who was rushed to Shalom Medical Center for treatment. We arrested Kasozi Godfrey, but again on the 30th at around 7 a.m. there's another incident which occurred in Zimbabwe, where 2 daughters of Lukwata Stephen, that is Najengo Winfred, 14-year-old female juvenile, together with her elder sister, the 2 went for cultivation in one of their gardens at Kashonji village in Zimbabwe, where they came across a metallic object, which they carried home and kept in the garage waiting for scrap dealers to pass around so that they can get money out of the metallic object. Now, this is becoming a danger because a number of young children are looking at these metallic objects as objects of value. So wherever he gets it in a garden, wherever, he picks it and takes it. The heavier it is, then it fetches more cash, and that is very, very dangerous. So for children who are scavenging scrap, they really need to be very, very careful. These 2 girls were saved because when their father came back home and was alerted about the object, he noticed that it was a remnant of war, and he called the police at Zimbabwe, who took it over. Again, on the 30th of last month, A peasant identified as Olusi, aged 27, while clearing the bush in Awuje village, that is Kasone Parish, Ukedia district. He also came upon an explosive hand stick, an explosive stick grenade. It has a stick, then it is more of like a microphone or a hammer. So for him, he mistook it for his lost hammer and he carried it home. It, however, took the vigilance from the local council, from the LC1 chairperson and the defense secretary, who carefully took over the unexploded remnant and handed it over to Bukedea police station. So we want to thank the LCs for their bravery, but again, their act was very, very risky. Any slight mistake in transferring it to the police station, it was an act that was dangerous and risky, so which they should not repeat. They should simply call the police, the bomb squad, to come and take over such incidents. So all these incidents above clearly indicate how the country still has traces or remnants of war, such as grenades, bombs, artillery pieces from the early 1980s. It is sad that it claimed the lives of 3 innocent children and could have endangered 5 other people. So I'd like to caution children, scrap collectors, dealers, refugees, all people who are economically productive in the age of 18 to 38, those that are involved in farming, that these ordinances are dangerous and have resulted in several civilian deaths and injuries. So wherever they come across them, they should ensure that they don't pick or transfer. They should call the police or sister agency to come and take over these objects. So we have, there are plans of engaging UNICEF and other NGOs for wider sensitization and awareness on risk education of explosive ordnance, so that children and other members are saved from these devastating effects of mines and remnants of war. During the week under review, there were 97 major incidents reported countrywide, leading to 68 deaths and arrest of 69 suspects. Murder in general still has the highest number of incidents, with 26 cases, followed by suspect murder and murder by mob, then aggravated robbery. But in Busia municipality, our police, acting on a tip, arrested one of the nurses there who was selling a COVID-19 vaccination card. The arrested person was identified as Siwunwa Lich, who was found selling COVID-19 vaccination cards at Nangwe Cell in Busia municipality. He was, the suspect was selling each card at 20,000. And when we searched him, we found him with 19 cards and cash amounting to 80,000, which means he had about 23 cards. We later discovered that she's not employed anywhere and had stolen the cards from Madibira Health Center 3 in Western Division. So he's being detained in custody at Busia police station. Then the other cases are actually the usual cases of murders arising out of mob justice. We had an incident where 2 suspected South Sudan motorcycle thieves were actually alleged to have been robbing motorcycles in in Kuluba sub-county, Koboko district. That is in one of the trading centers at Mugujai Trading Center. So they were actually arrested and lynched to death. When the bodies were searched, they were got with the two extra ignition keys of motorcycles, 4 bullets, a repair tool. We are working with our counterparts on the other side to identify who they are. They remain unidentified. In Chetume Wabuyinja, 2 unidentified adults were lynched when they were found with a suspected stolen pig. They were traveling on 2 motorcycles, that is Bajaj, UES 211H and UFB 530G. They failed to account for the source of the pigs. In Namasagari, these are very casual incidents. There are another 2 male adults who were mobbed to death on suspicion of having stolen chicken and goats belonging to Mutesi Madina, Balinaine Patrick, and Majwega. So 4 suspects are arrested in connection to that. Then in our enforcement operations for the week, we managed to arrest 2,436 pedestrians who were violating the provisions of the curfew. 1,408 were cautioned. 279 have their files. 279 were released on police bond. 95 have their case files with the state. We charged 654 to court. Then for motor vehicles, we impounded 1,329 motor vehicles across the country, issued EPS tickets to 976, cautioned 302 motorists. 51 vehicles are still unclaimed across the country. A total of 3,341 motorcycles were impounded, including border borders. EPS tickets were issued to 2,242. 657 riders, including border borders, were cautioned. 442 motorcycles are still parked at our police stations. Then regarding the ASTU UPDF operations in the Karamoja sub-region, during the course of the week, our reported theft of 515 heads of cattle were registered. We managed to recover 297, which we handed over to the owners. We are still tracking others, and we expect to recover them like we've been doing. 216 goats were also reported to have been stolen, and then 97 were recovered. We also impounded 20 heads of cattle being transported without proper documentation. That is one of the measures to counter cattle raids and thefts in Karamoja. 4 civilians were murdered by Karamojong warriors during the course of Kasorar rustling in different areas within Karamoja, and all are under investigation. We're happy to inform the public that 2 more SMG rifles with 59 ammunitions were recovered in different disarmament operations, giving a total of 97 guns and 1,048 ammunitions recovered since the start of the disarmament operation. 48 more cattle rustlers were arrested and charged for being in possession of illegal firearms, making a total of 447 cattle rustlers arrested. 256 have been convicted and sentenced since the start of the disarmament operation. 3 cattle rustlers were put out of action in different areas during the course of the week.